Hi, my name is Professor A, and I'm going to be giving a history lesson on hostile architecture. What is hostile architecture? You may have seen it, but not recognized what it is or who it harms. Hostile architecture is defined by the Cambridge Dictionary as the design of public spaces in a way that stops unwanted behavior. Simply put, people deemed undesirable are targeted by the very cities they live in. Hostile architecture is used in many countries and almost every city in the United States. In more recent years, anti-homeless campaigns have kicked it up a notch. There are about 650,000 homeless Americans, 92,000 of whom live in New York City alone, and there are never enough shelters. So, what are they to do? Sleep outside, out of doors, and often in the rain and cold. Sleeping rough, the term given to this particular situation, is hard enough on homeless people, but finding a safe and dry place to do it is getting harder and harder. Let's take it back a step and try to understand how and why hostile architecture has developed here and all over the world. Starting in the 19th century, we have urine deflectors. What are those, you might ask? Good question. Urine deflectors are what they sound like. They are usually smooth stone slopes added to corners of buildings to prevent people, often drunk, from urinating in said corners. In fact, the urine would splash back onto the person. These deflectors were implemented in England, Lviv, Norwich, and Venice, just to name a few. Moving farther ahead in the 19th century to post-French Revolution France. A big reason the revolutionaries had any success or footholds in the fighting was due to barricades they made of furniture and debris, which would block the streets and make it nearly impossible for enforcers to move through these areas. In order to avoid this happening again, the French government changed the layout of the streets, widening them so that these types of barricades could not be so easily made. Woof. Talk about losing your head a little. Oops. Too soon? Now then. To the Big Apple. That's right, New York City. In the mid-20th century. Robert Moses was an American urban planner and a public official who worked in the New York metropolitan area. He is widely known for the way he changed New York City, some for the better, others for much worse. The New York City Parkway was one of the main entrances into the city from more rural areas, and Moses built the bridge over the parkway purposely too short for buses to pass under, eliminating lower income and Black Americans entering via buses. When talking about different important figures within the history of hostile architecture, you just can't leave out James Q. Wilson and George L. Kelly. These two worked together on the broken windows theory and published an article labeled Broken Windows in the March 1982 issue of the Atlantic Monthly. The broken window theory boils down to disorder causes crime, and crime causes further disorder and crime. The idea behind the broken windows theory is that if a neighborhood or city is cleaned up of crime and detritus, hint, that's the broken window in the name, then that area would have less crime and be better for everyone. Unfortunately for Wilson and Kelly, this theory has been proven. Any drop in crime rates was either short-term or the effect of other policing tactics. So how does this factor into hostile architecture? Well, the idea of cleaning up the streets visually also meant people, not just broken windows. And the last stop we have on our fun train through history is the 21st century. Wait, isn't that right now? As we've just learned, hostile architecture has a long history, but how we know it today is a bit different. Nowadays, there are more subtle ways of implementing hostile architecture, and some are even fobbed off as art. First up is lovingly called anti-homeless spikes. Yep, shark spikes drilled into ledges and benches, and some are even made of concrete and cover entire underpasses. Second up is benches. This is where people like to get artistic. Many cities have their own take on how to make benches less comfortable long term, and some are downright painful. A few are slanted downwards, some are uneven so that laying down on them is impossible, but a lot more use armrests. This is one of the more subtle ways a lot of cities get away with using hostile architecture. These armrests make sleeping on a bench a distant idea. Now, some people do get around this in more creative ways, as seen here. Are you tired of those pesky teenagers who just want to hang out? Kids these days play loud music and talk in memes? Introducing the Mosquito. The patented device emits a high-pitched tone that is allegedly tuned to only those under 25. The Mosquito is widely used by average businesses, parks, and other gathering places of many young people. Some places have taken to a cheaper alternative, such as loudly playing Baby Shark on a loop. These methods are meant to deter loud gatherings, illicit behaviors, or even gang activities, in theory. Lastly, we have pig ears. These are another way to combat youths who enjoy skateboarding, especially on ledges or benches. Pig ears are made so that anyone who tries to skate along a smooth surface would be in for a bumpy ride. Now, people have found ways around these and even go as far as just removing them. Regardless, it doesn't really stop people from doing these activities, just makes these cities a little uglier, inside and out. So, now you know more about what hostile architecture is and what to look out for. So many people are affected by hostile architecture, and not enough people talk about it. So don't be afraid to share this video with friends and family. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Professor A.